What is up, YouTube? I am Edward Myers here, and we are here for the Week 4 battle versus in the NADF, and we are facing the Seattle Seakings and its coach Pez 743. And if you've forgotten what our team is, I'll just list it off real quickly. We have Mega Scissor, or what my team is anyway. I have Mega Scissors, Libero, Cinderace, Galarian Moltres, Swampert, Miltank, Flygon, Diancie, Virizion, Roselia, Rotom, and Crobat. My opponent's team is Zapdos, or Cantonian Zapdos, Ferrothorn, URSHIFU Rapid Strike, Pelipper, Cofagrigus, Slurpuff, Drampa, Avalugg, Walrein, Abra, and Mega Swampert. Some notable threats I can think of, the URSHIFU, the Zapdos, the Ferrothorn. I think Cofagrigus could be decently scary with like a body press set. Mega Swampert is pretty scary. I was a little bit scared of Drampa, just because I brought both my grass types, and I'll go ahead and get into the team builder real quick. We're bringing Life Orb, Virizion with Leaf Blade, Close Combat, Stone Edge, and Sword Stance. The idea behind this is that it's supposed to hit KO Zapdos no matter what set he brings unless it's Charty Berry. The Sword Stance is there just in case to get an opportunity to set up on maybe like a Swampert without rain, and URSHIFU maybe. I could see myself setting up on Drampa. URSHIFU would have to have not have to have a scarf, but I could maybe set up on that. Next up is Roselia with Poison Point. The idea behind this was that I wanted to poison the URSHIFU. Now, he could run protective pads, but I was more threatened by a scarf set. So every time he goes for surging strikes, that's another chance to get poisoned. And I can also go for Giga Drain on his Swampert or his URSHIFU. And the Swampert could also get poisoned. We've got Utility Umbrella Rotom with Volt Switch, Shadow Ball, Will-O-Wisp, and Sucker Punch. I wanted to be able to burn the Swampert. That was the whole point of this set, was to be able to burn the Swampert. Because, as you can see, Swampert can do massive amounts versus my team. So I wanted a way to kind of neuter that. Next up is Utility Umbrella Crobat. We got Giga Drain, Air Slash, Toxic, and Roost. The whole idea of this team was to either burn or spread either burns or poisons, and I can do that with Crobat. Toxic, it was sort of meant to be a bait for Zapdos. Zapdos comes in and I can toxic it because he that's probably his switch into Crobat anyway. Roost is just to get recovery off, and then air slashing is there because I'm also carrying Giga Drain for stuff like Swampert. Actually, it's there specifically for Swampert. We've got Protective Pads, Cinderace with Low Kick, U-Turn, Sucker Punch, and Assurance. I wanted to run High Jump Kick, but I was too scared of the Cofagrigus switching in, so I put Low Kick on here. U-Turn for momentum, Sucker Punch for priority, and then Assurance because I figured that I wouldn't always, excuse me, I wouldn't always need to go for a Sucker Punch, and there might be cases where I can't go for Sucker Punch, but I still want to get a Dark type move off. And then finally, we've got Bug Bite, Roost, Make a Scissor with Bullet Punch and Toxic. Again, I wanted to poison the Zapdos. Roost for recovery, Bug Bite because I thought that Bug Bite was more useful than getting accidental switching out. Like even if I do predict them to switch out, I still think it would be more valuable if Scissor were to stay in. And Bug Bite can also take care of berries if they happen to have them, like a citrus berry on something. Maybe a Ferrothorn or a Cofagrigus. Also, I can Toxic Cofagrigus if I want to. We're carrying the max defense just for stuff like URSHIFU or Swampert, or I can handle the Zapdos. I can take Slurpuff, Flamethrower, and Rain. Not that I would need to. I might need to, but let's go ahead and get into the battle. Okay, we are here, and he brought one thing that I didn't expect. I didn't expect the Wall Rain because while I don't really switch it anyway, to be honest, that's probably why he brought it actually. I still felt that I could take care of it with some stuff like Rotom, Virizion, Roselia if I had to, Cinderace. I could also deal with it with Scissor. I have Giga Drain on Crobat. But I lead with Virizion here because I figure that if he led with Cofagrigus, and he shows off that he's Scarfy or Shifu right here, so that's a big problem. But if he led with Cofagrigus, then I had Scissor, I had Crobat who could also who could Toxic it. I had Roselia who could come in on it. I think I had Toxic Spikes on Roselia. I'm gonna check if you didn't hear that last part because I paused it right before. So I did why this battle started over, but it did. Anyway, Scarf for Shifu is a big problem. He goes in his Zapdos. I go for Stone Edge turn 1 because I figured he would be Scarf. Unfortunately, I miss, so that's a problem. He goes for another U-turn. He goes into Pelipper this time, weirdly enough. He brought Pelipper in on my Rotom, so I thought that was pretty weird. So I go for a Volt Switch, and I knew he was going to bring in Swampert. I just didn't think he would bring in Swampert immediately, but that's on me because he brought Pelipper in against my Rotom, and no, I probably should have put that together. But I figured that if he did go into Swampert, then I could Will-O-Wisp it, and if he went into something else, I could immediately get momentum for that. But he goes for Flip Turn, and unfortunately I don't get the burn on Swampert, and this is where everything goes to shit. Because he Flip Turn into his Zapdos, I Will-O-Wisp his Zapdos, and now I can't Toxic it. So that's a big problem. And I go for Volt Switch here. He's going to get this slow momentum with his U-turn. And then he's going to go into Swampert. I go into Roselia here, and he's going to click Liquidation, and he's going to get that massive defense drop, unfortunately. And then he goes for Ice Punch. I do, fortunately, however, get the burn. The reason I didn't go for Endure there was because honestly, I was a little bit tilted. Endure would have probably been my best play, but for some reason I thought that Rosalia might have been able to take one between the fact that it between the fact that I'm Eviolite and max defense, and it was literally meant to take this thing on, or it was one. Swampert was one of the reasons why I brought Rosalia. So I go into Crobat. He finds out that I'm also Utility Umbrella. Unfortunately, I don't kill here, so I think he goes for Flip Turn. Yeah, he goes for Flip Turn, and he's gonna go into Zapdos, who's burned now, and this is why it's a big problem because I can't Toxic it. I figured he would go for Flip Turn, and I went for Toxic on the off chance he didn't go into Zapdos. I figured maybe he would go into Cofagrigus to maybe see what I brought as my ability, or maybe he would go into I don't know, URSHIFU if he thought I could take a Brave Bird and then Surging Strikes my Crobat. So I go into Rotom here, and I'm just going to click Shadow Ball, maybe get a special defense drop. Honestly, I kind of had to hope for hacks at this point, but even if he did stay in and I got the drop, it still would have been pretty bad for me because he could just switch out later. So he goes into Urshifu, and I go into Brazion. He's gonna go into Pelipper, and he's gonna set up his Rain, and I'm gonna Leaf Blade, and I'm gonna kill this Pelipper, and I'm at least gonna kill this thing. Honestly, at this point I was just playing for differential. So he goes into Pelipper, he sets up his Rain, and this is where I lose, because his Rain is up, he's Scarf Urshifu, and he's gonna Surging Strikes everything to death. In hindsight, this might have been a better play to leave in my Virizion and let my Scissor take the hit later on. But what would I have done? Best case scenario, I leave Virizion in, I go into Scissor later, I Toxic the Urshifu, and then at that point I'm literally stalling it down to the point where he is just racking up the toxic damage on the Urshifu, and even then he could have just switched out the Urshifu and gone into something else. Maybe I kill it, and then he goes back in Urshifu, resets his toxic, and still wins. But he kills everything with Surging Strikes. Spoilers, because I didn't bring a Scarf Pokemon for this thing. I probably should have brought Scarf Razion, but again, I wanted to hit KO the Zapdos. So I just let everything go down one by one. And that absolutely sucks, but that's the way things happen. GG Depez, he brought good prep. He played really well. I didn't play all that well, to be honest. I feel like I played well in the early game, but then I started tilting, and then he 5-0'd me. But again, GG Depez. All the best to him in the future battles. But for now, I'm gonna head out. Bye.